So I just want to just do all the promotional stuff up front so we can get all into everything. But again, the African Culture and Wellness Festival, I have flyers here. I also do a tour in 5 of the 10 regions of Ghana. I'm also the sponsor of everything that I'm doing is our family business, which is New Body Products. So you see the banner here. I have a few products here. We have a detox program that has been on the market since 1976, and we've been in Atlanta probably at least 30 of those years, and we still are in Atlanta. It is a multi-level marketing company, network marketing, so you can sign up to be distributors. It is totally Black owned and ran, and we do manufacture our own products. This is not something that's outsourced. We do it, everything ourselves, straight out of Compton. Been there since 1976, and it's formulated by Dr. Paul Goss, who's a renowned international healer for over 60 years, who has specifically focused on the African body, not only the body, mind, and spirit, but our agenda. So it's not just network marketing. We do focus on our families, dealing with the elements. It's not about getting a bunch of numbers, and it's about healing, and making money at the same time.
Hello.
Yeah, having what do you say, fun and fun with a purpose. What you guys say? Having fun and getting things done. Yes.
Having fun.
Yes. So I do have brochures here that talks about a 7-day detox. It's good to detox at least every 3 to 6 months. And this is a real thorough detox. You get rid of lots of gallstones and parasites and mucus and lots of waste, anywhere to 5 to 15 pounds within a 24 to 48 hour period, just of waste coming out of the system. And we are full of a lot of that stuff, all kind of stuff, whether it's physical, the foods that we eat, or the things that we take into our, that we listen to, our environment that we're in. We're in a toxic time, especially in this place, and we need to be able to meditate and levitate, not just meditate, but levitate above all of this, because it's going to take that strength to be able to get through this particular time, regardless of where you are on the planet. America affects everybody, and if you allow it, it will take you out and just make you not even have the zeal to even want to live, and that's what we want to bring that back, just the will to live. I feel like a lot of us are just dropping dead. We're not growing old and dying anymore. I'm seeing stuff on Facebook, people, my heart is gone, my daughter died, my son died. I mean, just something this morning. And it's like, what's really going on? And I realize there's a lot of what's going on is that people are just not having the will to live. All this doomsday talk. It's like the children, they're not even planning for what? What do you want to be when I grow up? I don't know. I always had an answer. I'm 47 and I graduated from high school in '88. We always had an answer. Even if it didn't turn out to be that, we always said something. But the whole thing of, I don't know, it's almost like I don't care, but because they're not seeing a future. That's why, we're talking about the Black Panther movie. It's going to always come up. As long as it's going to be for about a good year, we're going to be talking about it. But for me, I know we need to see that. We need to see that image. John Henry Clark, I love him like a grandfather. He's my grandfather. He's my spirit. I adopted him as my father. But he said that had we been left alone, not colonized, not enslaved, not oppressed, that this thing put us 500 years back in technology. So when I saw that movie, I haven't seen the movie. I don't even have to see the movie to know what the movie is about. I did some research on the comics, and so I can understand when I go see the movie, what I'm looking at, right? And that right there showed me that this is probably where we would be. You know what I'm saying? Had we not been touched or left. You know what I'm saying? And everybody would be happy. Nobody would have been oppressed. Nobody, as far as these oppressors, I can't call them white supreme because they're not supreme. the white wannabe dominators, I guess that's a better word, white wannabe dominators, they wouldn't even have to worry about themselves being eliminated. You know what I'm saying? They just would have came right into the fold. But I always feel that everything happens for a reason, that there's a cause and effect. There's a time for everything, and that they're coming here as like a cancer in the body. I'm a healer, so I'm going to speak from a healer's point of view. They're coming here like a cancer on the planet to clean up a lot of stuff that we have allowed to happen, being out of line with God. God gave us the will, but you had the will to choose. You also had the will not to choose, which means that you always fall in line with the Most High and what the will of God is. So we always make a choice. So it's because of our choices that we are in this position now, but it's also our choice to correct it. And so no matter where you are on the planet, you're living. I live in my space. I'm an earthling. I'm a human, and no matter where I go, I claim that. Even the word African, I'm working towards removing that word because we didn't give ourselves that word. Every word that you hear in the African language and referring to us, black was in the word. Obibini is Ghana, black man, black woman. And the opposite was Obruni, right? Which is something derogatory, foreigner, but like white man or something that wasn't of something black. So we need to also, look at that whole, we understand Africa, and when we think about that, we know we're talking about the continent, we know we're talking about each other. Just like if you say God, you have a whole bunch of different names for it. And so we refer to it as this, so I'll use that word Africa, but I just wanted to kind of put that out there. Because even when I went and researched the word Africa, a lot of times you'll see a lot of sites that would say there's no origin, or we don't know the origin. So I had to dig real deep. It went into Persia, Armenia, all kind of different places. All kind of, Africanus, was one, but he was saying it was a place that was avoided of cold and darkness, that didn't have cold and darkness. That's what he had brought, and so that was one of the meanings that was there. It was just all kind of different things that you would find, but at the end of the day, we are melanated black people, and the word we're black people, and that's the word that would be translated into English if you went to many, many African countries and languages. So, I wanted to come here to talk about repatriation because, for one, I'm here in America for 4 months, which is the longest I've been in America since I've moved to Ghana. Wow. Yeah, yes. So I said I have to make use of this, like while I'm here, because and part of the reason is because we have our business, New Body Products. My parents are, getting older, and we're the next generation coming in to take care of things. We're also building a wellness center in a complex in Compton, and we have like 3 different locations. We have manufacturing, we have our health food store, and then we have our administrative office that deals with all of our distributors. So we're trying to come under one roof, and we've been working on it for a while, and so now I decided I need to stay here longer so I can really work it, because it's politics that's stopping us from, not stopping us, that's slowing us down from being able to do what we have to do. So I just feel like I'm a gangster, I'm a thug. I'm from Compton, so I have to handle them the way they know. So as you know, sometimes we just gotta handle it, and deal with our brothers and sisters. And these are our brothers and sisters, and be able to say, look, come on now, wake up. Come on, look at what we're doing here. We're saving lives. And if you ain't about saving lives and raising vibrations, then what are you really here for? Because God didn't put you here for that. So anyway, my experience in Africa, as I shared on the last trip that the Africans did, I think Susie might remember, is I refer to it as a fairy tale. It's been a fairy tale for me. It hasn't been the same experience for everybody. And I've been able to assimilate into the culture, into the country, because I came there with a particular attitude. Like I said, I didn't go there to save Africa and try to help, do this and fix this. I went there to save myself. And my first experience going in 2006, August, I even was able to celebrate my 36th birthday on August 5th. We went to Egypt first, and then we came to Ghana. And it was with 80 people, 80 Afrocentric, militant, powerful, the people, Africans that came from all parts of the United States. We had 2 bus loads, and everybody was dressed from crown to feet in African gear. And when we all got off the bus, are we in Africa? What's up, black people? We can see, we can feel what they say Africa. We feel the heat, but we were questioning, like, wait a minute. That was one of the first, shocks, was that everybody was wearing European clothes. Now, of course, in time, I come to understand why. These things are not cheap. This is not cheap. Okay? This right here, I know you paid for that.
It was a gift.
Okay, well, they paid. Okay, and so when it comes down to buying a wardrobe, it's not cheap to have African clothes every day. So you're African on Fridays. When you go to work, go to the bank, that's when they're wearing African clothes. Or the teachers and the children are wearing African clothes maybe on Fridays. And I've met people who never even owned an African, outfit. This one guy, he was trying to date me, and one of my friends, she said, "You can't date her until you get you an African outfit." And she was there, and I was like, "You heard her," And first day, he came with an African shirt, and so, but he was the one that explained to me the reason why. It's expensive, to be able to. So if you got one African outfit, you can go and buy 5 different home use or used outfits, to wear, whether it's nice or not. You have clothes on your back. So that whole thing made me understand. Okay, this is why.
Excuse me, you said home use.
Home use, like hand-me-downs, or what's the word?
Secondhand.
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 Yes, thrift or secondhand clothes. Yeah,
that's a big business over there.
Yeah. And so, so anyway, that was one of the things. And so, of course, we did the whole tourist thing. We went into this 4 or 5-star hotel on the beach, Royal Palm Hotel, and they had lots of different seminars there, because we were going there to look at some land that was free, that was offered to Africans in the diaspora. And so we went there to see, about this free land and see what it was all about and how you went about getting it. And that's what brought, us there. I have been trying to go to Africa out of high school, but, school, got married, children, breastfeeding, all this stuff. And then finally, okay, last child, this is it. Pops, there's a trip coming up. You still, down with paying for that ticket because, you've been pushing me for a while. Yeah. So I called my mom. I said, they had 3 spots. Mom, you coming? She's like, okay, we're going. So that's how, we came. And in Africa, it was born in me. It's something, you don't have to be in Africa to say that, Africa is born in you. Because I know Africans right on the continent that don't want to be there. They're trying to be here. They're lined up right around the U.S. Embassy right now, trying to get over here, trying to get that visa for the 3rd time, being denied for the 3rd time. Right after they just called them a shithole country, they still, the next day they was right out there, still trying to get into this place, and being insulted at the same time. Talking about Trump, but still trying to come over here. So it's it is something that definitely was born in me. My parents made sure that I was black. I bleed black. I bleed black. I think if you cut, you'll see black bones inside. So it was just in me. And so when I finally got a chance to go, it was a very surreal experience. My parents had went before me in '98, and so they came back and told me some things. I also went to Jamaica, and when I turned 30, and then they was all, this is like Little Africa. So I felt like that was an introduction to Africa, and it was. And that's why I think people from the Caribbean adjust a little bit faster, you know, than we might do from America. So because being on a tour, you don't get a chance to see, then this is anywhere you go. If you come to Atlanta, tour Atlanta, you don't know what it is to live here, you know. So there was an issue with one of the people that was on the trip who was pregnant, and she started to get malaria symptoms. And so I had a friend who knew what to do for women who had malaria and they were pregnant, like what medicines to take. So me and my mother were able to take her off the trip. I think we took about 2 days or so away from everybody. We went to this sister's house. We took care of her. We went as healers. We was doing Reiki, energy work on her. We was putting crystals all on her. We giving all kind of herbs, and she was massaging her. I mean, she was just like in heaven. You know, I think just all the love that we put into it was really what helped her to come out of it. And then we were able to get back on the trip. But it was at that time that I said, you know, I can do this, because I'm going to a real house, you know, in an estate around people not too poor, but not so much money, kind of like, you know, where I'm from, you know. And I said, yeah, I can do this. This is cool, you know. And this particular person had been there for about 10 years, I think, already. So when I got to the point where I was ready to say, okay, I'm coming, and I got a 2-year plan to be there permanently. It was at that time that people said, why do you want to be here in Ghana? Why do you want to be here in Africa? And I'm like, because I want to live in Africa. I've been wanting to live in Africa since I was 18. But what are you going to do when you get here? Well, we have a company, you know, we have a product, and so how are you going to go about selling that product? You know, Africa's got herbs already. What are you going to, you know? What you going to do? Yeah, and so it was just so much, you know, not negativity, but just this thing of like, are you guys trying to talk me out of coming? Because you welcomed me at the airport with drums and all this stuff, and gave me all kind of, you know, African food, and, you know, had a seamstress there to get my clothes, you know, made and all this stuff. And then now you're telling me, you're questioning, you know, my motivation to be here, you know. And so, but it was a good thing, and I appreciate it to this day, and it's also the same way I talk to people when they want to come and live there, because I said what I wanted to do. They said, okay, you want to do business? Let's go take you to some business owners. One was from the UK, black folks from the UK, people from America, and then of course we went to Ghanaian businesses. Almost all of them said the same thing, you know what I'm saying? And like, you know, it's not easy, it's not hard, but you have to really know what you're doing. You have to take those rose-colored glasses off and look at what's really happening. We didn't walk into a history book. This is not John Henry Clark's, you know, Africa. You know, he's a historian. He told the history. And also, I think he wanted us to feel safe about Africa. So he told all the wonderful, you know, things about it. But today, Africa is no different than, you know, being in America, you know. But even though we built this country, and we were here even before slavery, you know, the continent is our origin, is our home, and we should always go home to our mother, at least just to say hi. Haven't seen you in a long time, how you doing? You know, and so I believe that everybody that is African on the planet, like Marcus Garvey said, the African for the Africans, at home and abroad, and that we should always look to do something in Africa. Even if you just go there and just open up a bank account, you know, something, just to have your hooks inside. Go over there and adopt, you know, a school that you're going to always help to maybe plant trees or, you know, do something, but you always have some kind of communication or something, some kind of link. Because it's important for us to be able to bridge that gap. Like the brother was saying that, and I remember that, you know, being a child, you were talking about, the brother here about, my young brother here that was talking about when you were younger, how anything African was a negative word. I remember African booty scratcher. That was what we always say. Oh, you African booty scratcher, you know, or just, you know, something that was always, you know, kind of negative, and you know, and even when I decided to move to Africa, I was like, you want to move to Africa? Why are you moving to Africa? If I had said I was going to France, London, Italy, they would have been like, wow, you know, it would have been like such a big deal, you know, but it's because of the ignorance, and it's because of the lies that we see so much over and over, even in 2018 through the media, you know. So for me, it was a matter of doing my own investigations, you know, and then figuring out how I'm going to be there. And I talked to my ancestors and said, look, whatever you need to do to align me, what I need to be aligned with for me to be here, then I will be totally obedient. I will do everything that you need me to do. If your spirit is telling me to do something, to go this way, I'm going that way. I'm not going to even look this way. I'm going exactly the way, and it has really worked for me. And also, being there, I am very much more connected to my ancestors. There's no so much interruption with all the wires. My friends say, oh, it's too many wires in America, you know. I feel a clearer path, you know, or connection, no static, you know, when it comes down to dealing with my ancestors. So I move with them all the time. Ever since then, they asked us to go, when we went to the castle dungeons, and we went to the beach right after, and they asked us to take a notepad and paper and write a letter to our ancestors. Oh, wait, give me a moment. So what I did was, I asked at that time for them to find a way for me to be here, stay here, and sustain myself, and be happy here. Wow. And to be able to help other people to come, based on my experience, because that's who I ran into. Those Sister Amika's from One Africa. She took me actually into her bedroom. The woman didn't even know me. An elder who's about 77 now. And took me into her bedroom and sit me on her bed. She said, so, why you want to be here now? What are you going to do here? You know, she was really on my case, you know. So she took the rose-colored glasses off, put them on fire, put my crushing into dust. It's done. Throw that away, you know what I'm saying? This is what the real is, you know. And so she broke some things down to me. We talked about relationships, you know, as far as men and women, husband and wives coming over, and how, you know, to maneuver with all of that. We talked about business. We talked about the children, where you're going to be having your children in school. How do you want to educate your children? What kind of environment? Do you have money? Can you put them in a private school, international? Do you have to put them in a village school? Or, you know, or whatever, you know, just understanding all aspects, and understanding that it's still a capitalist society, just like America and most places. So you have to go there and find a place to live. You're either going to be paying rent or you're going to buy. Not too many people are loaning. That's a new thing, to get a loan for a home. You have to pay water bill, light bill, phone bill. You have to put pay for transportation. So whether you get a car or not, you got to put gas in your car. All the things, you got to buy insurance for the car. You got to pay taxes. There's an IRS that is there, you know, and it's their IRS, their kind of revenue service, you know. So you have to, and when you're doing business, that's a whole other thing as a woman doing business in Africa. So it's so many things I had to learn, but I did listen, because I ain't know nothing. Who am I? I don't know anything. Even if you can read about all kind of stuff. I had somebody tell me last, well, in the newsletter that these people send, they say that. I said, what newsletter? I said, those people live in Africa? What? She had to close her mouth, because I was like, wait a minute. I'm there, so what are you talking about, you know? And so you have to deal with a lot of different things. Being a woman in Africa, I was guided to have an umbrella, which means a man that's connected to you. It doesn't necessarily have to be your husband, but somebody you can say, oh, that's my uncle, or this is my business partner, or this is my husband, or this is, I work with this person on the project. And it was kind of like a protection for you. Okay, when it came down to being a woman dealing with security, just moving around every day, living in a home, I was advised, make some friends with the police. Now over here, we like the police. No, not the popo. No, we don't do that. We're not friends. So even that, so it was like, okay. So then, you know, as you go into different places, there's a lot of toll booths and barriers, and that's where the police will be. And some of them would have, you know, their guns. Some places, they would have their guns. And that was a whole nother thing, because it's like, police with guns and just right out, and it's rifles, and, you know, it was just like a thing to us, like, no, police, no, we can't do that. But then it was always you know, Ghanaians are very friendly. Their disposition is very friendly, and, you know, lots of beautiful smiles, and their mannerism is always you know, to respect, you know, regardless of whether they're gonna juke you or not, or con you or whatever. Even when they rob you, it's like, you know. So when it comes down to moving over there as a woman, I had to learn a lot of different things that you know, that the brothers don't necessarily have to you know, deal with. And so I did make friends with the police officers that I would see on a regular basis going home. And I did stuff like, they would, oh, doctor, I got this pain in my waist. Do you have something? I was like, yep, sure do. There you go, free. How much? You just take it, you know. And then, you know, if it works, you know, let me know it works, and then tell somebody. That's how I'll deal with that. What's your phone number? Can I call you if I got an emergency? Oh yeah, sure, doc. You know. So when I move around, and go past these people, I know them. They're like my brothers. They always want to stop me and say, hey, doc, how you doing? You know. And they really want to, you know. And if I say, oh, if they say, oh, I haven't seen you in a long time, I say, oh, well, yeah, I might have been, I was down with malaria for a couple of weeks. AIDS, the doctor sick. Oh, how? You know, and so it's so we always go into a lot of different, you know, conversations. And sometimes I'll be holding up traffic in the back, just having conversations, you know, with them. But I gained a lot of respect because, like I said, I came there with a humble attitude to learn. I came there to learn and to share, but I wanted to understand, you know, fill in those blanks, you know, put that link in the chain that might be missing to understand who I was, you know, as an African, and just the different customs, and even eating food. Now I'm eating food with my hands, and not even, my daughter was like, sure, Mama, you're not in Africa. I'm like, well, I like eating with my hands. There's a reason why we eat with our hands. It's a different vibration. If you eat with your hands for a long time, and then you try to go and put a fork and knife in your food, you're going to see the difference in how that food tastes. It changes the chemistry. There was a reason. That's direct. You prepare the food. You put your hands in it. You put it in your mouth. You don't need nothing in between. You're not getting the full benefit, you know, of the food. So just so many different things that you think that, oh, look at the Africans, you know, doing, you know, this. Then you realize, okay, this is the reason why, you know, that they do certain things. And even some people have this concept of Africans being dirty. They'll be washing 2-3 times a day. Okay. Like, what are you doing? I had one little girl, she would change her clothes 3 times a day. Like, where are you going? Nowhere, I'm just, you know, just like changing her clothes. You know, she was like this fashion model or something, you know, but it was just a thing that, okay, I went to school, gonna come home, put on some, a nice clothes, she getting ready to go to church or something. And then the evening comes and she changing her clothes again. And not because she got dirty, just because she just felt like wearing something else. You see women, a lot of women, you say?
My sister's wife gets very highly upset if her children do that. You're wasting clothes. I wash your clothes.
Right, exactly, yeah. But trust me, they're washing their clothes too. The children by hand. Ain't no washing machine. By hand. They're washing by hand, you know. So it was just a lot of different things. The whole thing of being called Obruni, or called a white woman straight, because you didn't know what Obruni meant at first, you know, until somebody explained it. But somebody's calling you straight a white woman, and not, okay, I never been mistaken as a white woman ever in life until I went there.
That's cultural. They're referring to our influence by the West.
Yeah, exactly.
The entire bus, the first time I went there, it was so hilarious, because the first lady that got out, she was very fair complexion. Yeah. And the guy, he pointed to Obruni. Then the next person counted Obruni, and he went through the whole bus. I was like, oh, he didn't miss, it wasn't just skin
Right.
No, you can be just like this.
Yeah.
As soon as you open up your mouth, you O'Bruni.
The dress, the culture,
Yes.
that's what they reference.
Yeah, yeah, it's because you speak like them. Your language, the way you speak, the way you walk, the way you even chew bubble gum is like an American.
Yes.
And being over there for a while, you get to see, I can identify an American, a black American. My son was, my younger three children were with me in the beginning and over there, and my son, he lasts about 5 months. He said, "Ma, I can't do gun. I can't do it, you know." But when we were there, we went to a soccer game, football game, and where we're sitting, and I said, "Hey, that lady over there, she's a black American." And he said, "How you know?" Because she was standing with a Ghanaian brother. He said, "How you know?" I said, "I can tell by the way she's chewing her gum." And then he's like, "Oh, Mom, please, like, you know what?" I said, "I'm telling you, I know she's a black American." Halftime comes, everybody's going to the concession, so she walks past us. She's talking to the brother she was with. I said, "You here?" She sounds just like us, don't she? I said, "I know." He said, "Well, how you know?" I said, "Because once you start to see yourself in a different environment." They just like they know that you're not from there. When somebody first sees me, and if I'm just not doing anything, just kind of sitting, no kind of gestures, I'm not talking or whatever, I was always being mistaken as an Ewe. So people would come to me and speak to me in Ewe, or tell from the Volta region, and they would tell me that you look like a lot of people, you know, in the Volta region, you know. And then when I went there, I was like, oh wow, because a lot of them have they had all colors. They had very light all the way to dark skin. You know, so, but if you were light skinned, they would think that you were from, you know, the Volta region. And even to the point where one woman, like, almost cussed me out. I didn't know he was cussing me out until a friend of mine who was moving with me, who knew the language, and he said, we walking down the street, and then the Trotro, which is a public transportation of like a minivan that fits like 20 people inside, like this. And so is blocking the street, so I guess he's trying to get people passengers. So he was like, you know, speaking in the language, like, you know, like, you're not riding the Trotro today? And so he's speaking, and I can see the body language. I was like, oh, no, I'm not doing Trotro today. And then he just started talking, you know, just like, oh, you know, all in this rage, right? And I'm thinking, what is he saying? I said, what is he saying? And the guy just started laughing. I said, no, what is he saying? You know, and so he said, he's saying that, oh, you can't speak the language. Are you too good to speak the language? You know, you can't speak your language. You're speaking to me in English. You know, and I'm thinking to myself, wow. I said, but did you tell him that I wasn't from here? He said, oh, it don't matter. I was like, no, you need to go tell him. He said, just keep going, just keep going. You know, and so it was so many different adjustments that I had to make, and I had a lot of WTF moments. I always have a lot of WTF moments, if y'all know what WTF means.
Oh yeah.
At least 5 times a day. You just and if I don't want to have that moment, sometimes I just stay home. So, cause you know the what? You know, and so.
Keep it real.
Yeah, you know, I mean, well, I'm from Compton. That's how we're made. That's the only way we can do it. Yeah. So anyway. I just wanted to share, you know, some of my experience when it comes down to, because people ask me a lot. I'm just kind of answering a lot of questions that people ask, like, did you get cultural shock? The shock was that I didn't see as much culture as I thought was going to be there. That was a shock, you know. And then, yeah, and then when it came down to, okay, like even how are you going to take care of your health while you're over there? What happens if you need to go to the hospital? Understanding that whole thing, like, you know, understanding what medicines are good and what's cheap. A lot of China cheap, you know, medicine is there killing people. It even happened to my own daughter, you know, so I lost a daughter over there because of bad medicine, you know, and so these are realities that we have to deal with. So, of course, as a healer, you analyze what happened and what could happen and how you do it differently. And so you find different hospitals and find different doctors that have, you know, a certain background, not just a certain but somebody who really understands how to take care of the body. Not somebody who's so rigid, like a lot of our doctors, really in the world, but the medical doctors, they say, this is the way it's supposed to be. And like I had a doctor the other day who's an oncologist. He said, well, what kind of doctor are you? I said, I'm a naturopath. He said, oh, okay. Yeah, I was like, well, you one of them. Okay, we're not going to even go there, you know. And so that was always a thing of, you know, arguing with doctors about certain things and what you know, so you have to be able to find those things ahead of time. Know where you, even now when I'm dealing with my trip, I know what hospital to take anybody to just in case, you know, something comes up, if it gets to that point. But first and foremost, we're going to deal with them naturally, you know, deal with them holistically. And then, which I see that a lot of West Africans still do. East Africa is a little bit different, you know. They said a lot of the, as far as using natural medicine, it's kind of going. But West Africans still go to the bush first, and then if it don't work, you know, then you'll see them in the hospital. Unless it has something to do with like vaccinations, they're running to get those vaccinations because they believe the white man's medicine is the best medicine. So, you know, go ahead and use it and prevent it. Not understanding, you know, all that. The other thing was, as a conscious person that bleeds black, I'm like, what's up with all these white Jesus all over the place? Okay. You know, if you're gonna be a Christian, understand. I mean, if it says in the Bible that wool hair and bronze skin, to me that sounds like a black person. So why y'all still on that? Like, we got past that some time ago. Here, you know, so here in America, it's either Jesus is black or the color doesn't matter. So at least, you know, so at least it's that. But over there, Jesus is white. And that's how this brother was told it to be too. He said, no, Jesus is a white man. Even though I broke everything down, I asked him if I was to describe you and I went to go look for you, would I be able to find you based on how you see in this whole Jesus character? So your name is Kwaku, you're about 5'6", dark skin, slim, beautiful smile, little crooked tooth here, I see a little mark there. And now I want to go look for you. I know you're from the Liati village, so now I go to the village to look for you. Oh, I know this Kwaku, but I didn't get his last name or whatever, but I'm looking for him. And so they said, oh yes, I describe you from head to toe. They said, oh yes, I know him. I'll take you to him. And then when I get to the person, they got blonde hair and blue eyes and this white skin. I'm going to be kind of a little confused. Like, no, that's not who I was asking for. I said, so that's the same kind of said. So even though the Bible that you read is saying this, you still are not accepting it. He has a white, can't even call him Jesus really, but the white image on his necklace. He had it on his window, the mirror that had the air freshener. It was an air freshener. Jesus. He had stickers. I mean, he had the whole, you know, a T-shirt. I mean, everything. Right? And so that's. You say? Yeah, so that's what made me ask, like, God, I mean, because you see it all the time, but I was like, dude, like, really, you are really, you know, branding this thing, right? And so that's why I asked him. And then, so when I went through that whole scenario, he was thinking, he was like, but Jesus is still white. I said, wow. I'm so glad I'm about to get down in 5 minutes, because I can't take you know, so after a while, that's what happens when you first get there. You're just like, you're trying to like, no, wake up, wake up. As conscious people, see, if you're going over there as an ambassador, you're working for UNICEF, and you're just over there on a contract, and you're not of a certain mindset, and you're not worried about the people, it's just a paycheck, then that's different. But if you come over there like as an African-centered person, knowing who you are, knowing your history, that part can be difficult in the beginning if you're not able to just, you know, pull back your ghetto, pull back your, you know, just pull back and just say, you know what, this is, I'm a healer, so I have to keep looking at it. This is our sickness. We have our sickness over here due to slavery. I believe it's colonization too of our mind. And then colonized people, that's a sickness. We're an oppressed people. And it's a sickness, so we have to understand that it's a mental illness. And that's why this man can still say, after all that, Jesus is still white. Where somebody can say, oh, you know, this is why we say the white man is better. I'm doing Skype with my children and my auntie. I call her my auntie from the Volta. Black as this, right? Beautiful smile. When she smiled, the whole room lights up. And so she's sitting in front of the computer. She's talking. I said, talk. Can they see me? I said, yeah, they can see you. Auntie, how you? You know, so they're having a conversation. After they finish the conversation, she gets up. She said, Mommy, this is why we say the white man is better.
Oh.
I said, Auntie, you know who I am, you know me. I'm the 5th family that you have dealt with like me. So it's not like vegetarian, you know, African center, talk about, you know, Africa all the time and all this. And I don't understand how you can still say that, you know, after being through all this, all these different people. I said, but technology wouldn't be nothing if it wasn't for Africa and Africans. It would be nothing. We wouldn't have this technology. So just kind of breaking down different things, you know. And then but it would still come up. I help a person get out of the hospital by juicing for her. They was just gonna let her die. I juiced for her. After a week, she was able to get out of the hospital. I told Auntie about it. Auntie don't even know the woman, but Ghanaians, you know, or Africans, it's like, they still feel like everybody's their brother or sister, right? So she said, oh, Auntie, thank you so much. Thank you so much for helping my sister. You see, black people wouldn't do, this is why, you know, white people, you know, we understand that this is what white people do. See, white people help us. I say, Auntie, are you calling me white again? I said, I learned this from Africans. I learned this as an African way of doing things. So what are you talking about? You know, so it's just that type of thing can be frustrating. But like I said, because I've been there for almost 12 years now, I understand why. And my thing was, you know what? There's an African proverb that says it's easier to raise a child than to to build a child than to repair an adult. So I decided I'm gonna deal with the children. And so that is also, they listen, they absorb, they understand, and it's rewarding. You can't pay me. You can't pay me for that. But if I gotta sit there with adults and try to convince them, no, you need to put some money in, because this is time. I need to get paid for that. I got bills to pay. I can't be sitting with you trying to repair all this damage, you know, that's been done to you. You know. Somebody had a question.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to hog this, but you're addressing something that really just kind of like was a thorn in my side when I went there. There's an actress that's in Tyler Perry's movie. She has a sister that's a twin, and she lives in Ghana. And she was even on the cover of Ebony magazine. Okay. So my friend happened to be her friend. And he was telling me about, you know, I didn't realize how big it was. You know, she said she got a sister that's in Atlanta, and she's really big. So when I met her, it was her birthday, and what she wanted to do in honor of her birthday was go to the orphanage and give something to the kids. She didn't want to give anything to her. She wanted us to go buy candy and things like that and go spend the day with the kids at the orphanage. We get to the orphanage, it's nothing but white Americans there. And you know, back to the children. All the imagery, all around the wall, everything, and nothing but white people everywhere. Oh my God. So see, that's ingrained in them from such an early age. That white this is who's helping them. Oh my God. That's who's giving, and that's why she wanted some black people to go spend some time with the kids, because
but you still white.
They see. But I guess. But the point is that the people who are there all the time, they are always white people, too many of them, and all the imagery. They didn't have one black positive image on the wall. I'm like, look at all these white people. I mean, they're driving these kids crazy, you know? And so that's ingrained in them so long, so by the time they get to be an adult, that's how they think and feel, you know? I'm kind of like getting at through what you're saying.
Well, yeah, definitely.
Just half a second, which was why I felt, which is why Spirit descended on me when we were there in May and at the orphanage giving school supplies, clothes and dolls. I got the sense that this was not a rare occasion for the kids, that people give them stuff. But I got that sense. People come and give them stuff and whatever it. I was like, wait a second, they don't know why we're here. They don't know why, because we're white folks. We're Obwoni. I can call that, broke my heart. But they don't know why we are giving. And I felt to tell them the story that we are your cousins whose grandparents were stolen. You know, and I don't know if it got to them, but I wanted them to have a different perspective than oh, here's the next busload of white folks who come.
But that's Africa,
and load
period. That's the
yes.
mentality of Africa. All the IMF, funding, the World Bank, all the aid, Save Africa, the whole Save Africa. One of the biggest businesses in the world is on saving Africa.
Right.
All these non-profit or what they call non-government organizations, NGOs, they make lots of money. They can come into your village and say, oh, okay, you guys need a borehole, you need to, paint your school, or we're gonna put up a school, we're gonna do all these little things, right? And it's old. They give you the Bible, they give you all this little small stuff. Have you looking at this hand when this hand is just raping the soil, taking all the minerals and doing everything, right? And so it's a thing where it becomes like a habit to always look for somebody to just give you something. Look for somebody to solve your problems. Look for somebody to come and save you.
Be dependent.
To be dependent. And so that's the attitude. And I keep hearing, even this morning, people talking about the new president of Ghana. Now, I was having my reservations, and I have a reservation about all these African leaders. But it was something that he did that has everybody, talking. It went viral. He was talking to either the president or prime minister of France. And he was addressing, he was saying it's time for Africa to be able to stand on its own. Stop taking all this aid from other people. We have all the resources, we have all these different things. And at the end of the day, all you're giving us is just some funny color money.
I saw that on YouTube.
You know what I'm saying? With all the different colors, that's all you're giving us. But what is the dollar even backed by?
I saw that on YouTube.
Nothing.
Yeah. So went viral. So even this was a Senegalese doctor I was talking to on the phone this morning, and then he said, "Yeah, how do you like your new president?" I said, I had my reservations about him at first. He had a little tarnished past. He ran a couple of times. He lost, but this time he won. Barely lost and barely won. But I can see all these different things he was talking about doing that we were thinking, okay, it's not impossible, but it's not probable. Which was, it's 80-something different districts. It's 10 regions, but about 80-something different districts in Ghana. And his thing was one factory, one district. One factory, one district. Can America even think about doing 80 factories in 8 years? Different types of industries, different sectors. You see what I'm saying? He has a head start with Kwame Nkrumah because of the fact that Kwame Nkrumah did so many different things. Some things were destroyed, some things were shut down, but then those are being restored, like the sugarcane factory. And then and then the free education for everybody, free education. So I'm like, okay, so how is he going to do that? And some of the teachers don't even get paid even in a year. They're even protesting on days, like how is he going to do that? So it was just some of my thing was like, okay, only thing I can do is watch because I ain't going nowhere because the president over here is number 45 now. No, we won't even need to say his name, but number 45 is what was on the market here. So I was like, well, I just deal with whatever because I'd rather take my ass whooping over there than over here. Because at the end of the day, somebody's going to give you a hug. Somebody's still going to feed you, clothe you, and somebody's still going to take care of you when you're sick. It's the names that took care of me when I got sick. Bathed me in the bath, sponged me, shea buttered me down. You know what I'm saying? Wash my sheets. That's who took care of me. So, and their problem is, my problem is their problem. So I don't get that here, in America, because we're too busy trying to chase the dollar and trying to eat. We ain't got time to be taking care. That's your problem. You deal with it. You had those babies. You raised them. You know what I'm saying? That's what you get here. But over there, it's not that. So it's just I just wanted to kind of share, some of those, experiences of the experiences of what's wonderful about the place, but also what's real, and that we are living in Africa today. And some of the things that we run into as African-centered people, that we have to understand that we are here to learn who we are the best way we can. When you're dealing with Pan-African people over there that are African, they really help you fill in the blank with a lot of things, and they understand who you are because they know the history. So when they're addressing you just like when they would never call me a white person, not even by mistake. I don't even think they address in their own circles that, oh, the white people, you know, it'll be the black Americans, if anything, or the Nigerians, or the, you know, people from Ivory. That's how they, you know, would address you. So, because we're all Africans. And so, when it comes down to you moving to Africa, you have to understand these little variations. Get over yourself, you know, because at the end of the day, we are trying to come together to fix and clean up, you know, what has been done to us. And the best way to do it is for unions like my sister. See, Mimi is being quiet, but y'all don't know who Mimi is and who her father is and, you know, all that. But, you know, this is her husband, and so them coming together, that, you know, and it's not easy because you have those differences, and then you have these arguments, and you have these, you know, these things like, you know, I remember arguing with one friend that I was dating, and I was like, you know, coming from the last bath, and I'm broken down. The first time I think I ever broke down, and the whole time I've been there going through all these different trips, and then he was like, Sharita, you need to calm down, you know, you're the coordinator of this group, you gotta hold it together, you're leading this group. I was like, these people understand what's going on. I mean, they ain't mad at me for crying or whatever. And then he's just like, "But you know, I said," and then I said to him, I said, "It's because you don't want to sow us out anyway. It was because of you." And then he was just like, "Okay, so we're in a small car."
You had a moment. You had a moment.
Yeah, I was just like, and then he goes, "Well, we don't know that." So what do you mean you don't know that? This is history. What are you talking about? Even your own people tell this history, your own historians. So I'm just. You know, but it was just one of those things where, you know what, we have to do that. Yeah, we have to have that fallen out because we've been trying to be so soft around the subject, you know, just trying, you know, oh, my brother and my sister, you know, and all that. Yeah, that's fine, but I argue with my sister, we fight, my blood sister, I argue with my brother, and we talk about it and we deal with it. And until we stir up the soup, we ain't gonna see what's inside the soup. You know what I'm saying? We need to be able to pick out what is good for us and take the stuff that's not good and throw it out and don't put it back in the soup ever again.
And unless we actually deal with it and let it come up and out, because it's like having a sour stomach, we're never gonna move forward because we're not acknowledging this is what happened. Let's make peace with it.
Yes.
Let's work on our forgiveness and move forward as one.
As one. And
you can't do that until you do the work on yourself.
Yes. And that's really what
because
it is.
We're all full of rage.
Yes.
We're all full of rage unless you dealt with that before you go to Africa.
And understanding that it's been by design. This is 2018. And somebody can ask me, well, this is 2016 when it happened. I'm in LA, just came from the airport in an Uber. A man 65 years old who's a pastor telling me about himself. He said he goes into the prisons and deal with the youth and talk to the youth. He's a, you know, so he's like, I don't know when he said, are you some kind of celebrity or something? I was like, well, no, not really. I said, well, in Ghana I do a little TV, you know, and he's just like, oh, okay. He said, because I think he thought I was somebody else that, you know, that was some entertainer in America. So he said, Ghana, he said, you live in Africa? And I said, yeah. He said, so is it true that they live in trees?
Oh, Lord.
And I said, I've only seen a tree house in America. I've only seen tree houses in America. I've never seen a tree house, you know. And I didn't really understand where he even got the concept, because even Tarzan didn't live in a tree. He just swung from tree to tree, you know. So, but educators have asked me all kinds of things. We just don't know, and it's by design. So when we look at Africa, we're looking at famine. Look at what happened with Ebola. I don't know how many calls I got. I was even teasing my family because I was like, you guys are just being ridiculous. I was like, Sharita, how's it? Is Ebola in Ghana? I was like, yeah, it's on my ass right there. Oh, damn, this ran into an elephant. I just used to mess with them because it's just like, come on, y'all just being too ridiculous. No, you didn't hear about anything, you know, and so disease, famine, war, pillage, I mean, anything you can think of. And I was like, I've been in Ghana all this time. When I did see somebody who was poor, they still had a roof over their head and somewhere to sleep. I don't know if it was their place, but they had a place to sleep. They had food. If the children wasn't wearing clothes, it's because they didn't feel like wearing clothes. You know, in some of the villages, they just let them run around, you know, like that. And when it was time to get dressed, they put some clothes on. You know, so I didn't, food, oh my God, it goes to waste. It's too much food in Africa. It's too much food in us. Food just goes to waste. They can't even export enough. They can't eat enough, you know. And so it was, and then still today you can turn on the TV and watch CNN, BBC, and still see these lies. Yeah. And I'm thinking, and to the point where my family, you know, my parents, you know, because they're African centered, but my cousins and uncles and aunties, they're like, Sharita, you live in the mountains? I said, yeah. Well, how do you get up there? I was like, okay, don't be smart, Sharita. Watch it. You respect your elders. Wait before you speak. Before you. I said, well, Auntie, I have a car. I drive a car. You drive there? I said, yeah, I have a car. And she's like, and I said, you know how Palisades? This is in California. You know how Palisades is? You know how you on a hill and you go, you know, up the mountain. I said, it's kind of like that. And it's a beautiful ride up the mountain too. I get to see the city and the light. I had to come like that because my first reaction was like, I ride on a mule. That's what I wanted to say, but I was like, no, you know, my auntie is an educator, and I just felt like you just should know. You've been in the education system for 40 years, and you can ask me those kind of questions still. Every time I go back, she's still asking me these questions, you know.
Well, I mean, I agree with you. I think we cannot assume the common sense of people, because common sense isn't common anymore.
Yeah.
There's a natural sense, but we don't have common experiences growing up for the most part.
Right, yeah.
I was in a conversation with a brother last night from Chicago who has lived in Atlanta. And he wanted to tell me about the horrific crime going on in the West End and how could I be there. What? Excuse me? And I mean, so, and that was even like me moving to Atlanta from San Diego in '88 when the gang warfare was moving down into San Diego from LA. And then later that year, hearing on the news that Atlanta had the highest crime rate in the country, I was like, what? So the lies are rampant across the board. We have to like just be mindful about everything and not assume that people know anything.
Right. And that's the thing, that you learn patience. You learn patience because there's going to be questions constantly coming at you. I get constant questions sent to me on Facebook Messenger asking me about living there or what it feels like to be there. So that's why I had actually did it back in October 2016. I did a live cam of me just doing one of my everyday things. I was going for a morning walk, and I'm down the street from this botanical garden, so you know it's a beautiful place to go walking. You know. So I just was giving my experience, showing that this is one of the things I do every day, and then I just talked about Africa, why I love living in Africa, and some of the pros and cons. It went. A lot of people watched it, right? But then recently, December 7th, 2017, somebody shared it. And then all of a sudden it just went viral. A lot of people, then all of a sudden, I think it's about 150 shares, you know. Now it just kept coming up on the page and people started asking questions. And I think it's just in time of, what's happening, the whole Black Panther, this whole thing going on and what's happening with the Black Lives Matter, the police brutality, number 45, we don't know what to expect, what's gonna happen. And so it's kind of like, okay, you need to have an alternative to America, and I'm here as a real regular sister that moved over there from Compton, that's just like you. I'm not some big time, millionaire owning some, big business, and I can just do whatever I want at any time. You know what I'm saying? I'm a real sister that can talk to you where I live. And Stephanie and Sass stayed with me for about a month or so in the mountains. I'm renting. I have a place that I bought land, so I'm cultivating that. But while I'm there, I'm renting this house. It's a 3-bedroom house, 3 baths, I got hot water all the way through, and it's on the mountains. It's overlooking the town. I pay $200 a month.
Wow.
That house here in Atlanta, I know will go for at least $3,000. In LA, definitely at least $4,000. Maybe even $5,000 in certain parts of LA. You know what I'm saying? So my water bill is, oh God, I can't even, I'm even fighting with them over a water bill right now because I just thought it was, you know, they were trying to overcharge me. But still, the bill is $250 and I'm fighting them about. And that was over 9 months. That's 9 months, you know. But, you know, the light bill, you know, everything is just cheaper. The food, I can walk out my gate, I can look to the left, I can look to the right and go get food from the people who are farming, you know, in the area, fresh food. No refrigerated food, you know, if it goes bad, it's gonna spoil and they throwing it away. You know what I'm saying? So I feel healthier when I'm there. My skin is brilliant. I mean, it's just like flawless. I don't get, like I gain weight. As soon as I get here 1 week, I gain 10 pounds, I swear. I gain 10 pounds. You know, and you do a little more walking there, even if you're driving, do a little more walking because everything is not like right where you go, you know. So it's been a real good experience for me. We do have our business over there, New Body Products. We have our colon cleanser on the market there, and you have to go through the Food and Drug Authority to get anything on the market there. Where it's different here, you can put herbal stuff on the market here. I do radio and TV over there.
Put it on the market there.
You can't just come up with a product and put it on the market like you can do here.
Oh.
You see, you have to go through testing and, you know, all this paperwork. You gotta pay, it's like $1,800 per formula. So we have 130.
Ooh.
You see, so we and then I found ways to get around that, you know, but this is when you're there, you kind of understand how everything works. But, you know, also I do radio and TV. I went to about 10 different radio stations and TV stations and said, how come y'all don't have a health program? How can you have TV and radio without the basic, you know, entertainment, news, social politics, and health is always there. So who's talking about health? So I sat down with several people and then one guy said, okay, let's just try it. And I developed something called the Vegan All-Stars, where I have several different vegan chefs who have their own businesses, but they make some of the, if you're not a vegetarian, they will make you a vegetarian. Their food is that good. And I pitched it to them. I took them, we did the first show. They said, okay, let's see, come back again. And the second time, it was like, okay. And the third time, the synergy worked. I sat on the sofa with the host. The Vegan All-Star does a demonstration on the side. I talk about all the different nutritional benefits that's inside the ingredients. Tell them how much it's going to cost, where they can buy it. All these things that they can get right there, not something they got to import in. And then the third time, it was like, the producer was like, I got kudos from my boss. And my colleagues, they were just like, yes. And I ended up being there for 14 months, every Saturday on the #1 morning show in Ghana. You know, and then from there, it just opened up a lot of doors. So another TV station called the Minister of Health and said that they looking for somebody to speak on fruits and vegetables and the benefits of it. I was in their face so much and sitting at their office so much, it was just like, oh, Dr. Sharita, tell them I'm not here. Just, you know, they were hiding from me, you know. So the first name that came up was Dr. Sharita. It was all kinds of names that could have did it. But because I was always in their face, they said, okay, well, Dr. Sharita, can you go call GTV? They want you to do this thing. I went there, did a presentation on just different local fruits and vegetables, and then I don't even have to do live TV anymore. They still showing the same stuff. I did about 7 tapings, and I'm still, I haven't done anything in probably 2 years, but still it's always playing something. And I get mad respect. I learned to not let that go to my head. People, I get on the Trotro, the public transportation with everybody. I don't feel like driving today, or my car is broken down. I don't want to take the taxi because I have a lot of stuff. I don't have a lot of things I need to bring back home. So I jump on the Trotro. I just got to go to a car real quick, do some little business, come back. People will say, Sharita, you're a doctor, you can't ride a Trotro. I said, well, why not? Because, you know, it's a classism thing. That's another thing too.
Yes.
Classism is very real there as well, you know. So if you're a doctor, you can't marry a carver. You can't marry a wood carver. It's like, what are you doing? You know, so it was always a thing of, you know, so I told him, I said, leave me alone. I'm protected this way. I learned that living in Compton. We didn't leave Compton because when you're a healer and you're helping black people, you need protection. If you stay in the hood, the people that you're helping, they're going to protect you.
Of course.
So I learned that there. So that's what I decided to take it also to Ghana, and that's why I'm protected. I don't have to worry about people. If somebody tries to do something, hey, wait, that's Dr. Sharita. What are you doing? You know what I'm saying? I'm protected. So that's why staying, if you're going to serve the hood and be part of the making your money off of black people, you better live amongst them.
And take care of them.
And take care of them, because they're going to take care of you. If somebody robbed us in Compton, and we had gangsters, other business owners on the grounds looking for the person that robbed us.
Exactly.
And they would go for days until they found out. They keep asking questions and they will find out who did it. And we punished them. We didn't have to put them in jail. We dealt with them. You know what I'm saying? So that makes a big difference, I think, probably anywhere you live in the world, you know. But these are the attitudes. I think there's a lot of things I can tell you, but I want to get a point across about your attitude when you're living in another place. That at the end of the day, these are all your brothers and sisters, and you have to understand our condition, why we got to where we are, and so you can work on what we need to do to get to where we have a real Wakanda. Where we have this technology, where we're flying, where we're doing all this stuff. And we are doing it, and it's not fictional. That's what I come to find out also, that a lot of science fiction that we have here is not fictional. I mean, my brother can talk, they got herbs, they got some tribes where they put herbs that cut into your, a lot of times when they give you medicine, they'll cut little cuts and put medicine inside, right? And you are like still. Somebody can try to cut you with a knife and shoot you, and it will just.
Yeah, I can testify to this. My own father wanted to give my brother-in-law medicine. He said, I had a surveillance in America, I will give you a leaf. If you eat it, no gun can penetrate. But in his mind, he thought he's charging him for that. That's Bilal. And my father said, no, it's free. When you're ready, I can give it to you free. And later when it's free, when he made his mind to go, my old man is gone. He passed away. You know? So it's there.
It's true. Yeah, I met a man, somebody was stealing stuff from our land, and then they said, okay, we're going to find out who did it. So they brought this guy named Knife. They call him, that was his name. And when they described the guy, I never wanted to see him, because when they described him, I was like, you know, even though he's supposed to be helping me, it's like, I don't even want to. Big, you know, real big, and he talked about some guy that messed up and he was kind of small. He took him and picked him up and slammed him down and broke his back. He couldn't walk for 2 weeks. So they just describing all kinds of stuff. He said if you try to come with a knife, he just stands there. Ooh. Doesn't even penetrate the skin. You don't even see nothing. It's not fiction. The ability to be able to heal.
You're fine. We have another question, and then we have 5 minutes.
Well, let me get this because she's been raising her hand.
We want to take some questions.
I just had a question about with all of the indoctrination and the colonialism and how it has affected people. Are there, and I do know of some opportunities from those that I know there that are doing it, but in terms of African-centered education, which is what I'm really involved in with small children, do you find that there are opportunities in terms of not just us who are repatriating there, who are already on that, in that mindset, but for those who are there that do have an openness and an understanding that our culture is our cure, and they're bringing that in on a very, even if they may not know as adults, but knowing the value of if they had that information and wanting to.
We're doing it. We're doing it. I have peanut butter kids every first Saturday of the month where I teach, you know, preserving the arts of Africa, and we teach them all. I even have children teaching other children, like a 9-year-old child taught vegan cooking classes. Also, that particular child, father is Dr. Obadile Cambone, who's a Bibi Tumikasa. They just opened up a school, an African Center school, about 2 years ago. And his goal is to do everything in an African language. Like, he teaches his children at home, everything is in Tree and Yoruba. Science, math, everything. That's how they speak in the house. And he said at some point in time, Sharita, you better learn the language because I'm not going to speak English after a while. And he's very serious. So it is there, and we have some other, I think it was a sister from the Caribbean that has a school like that, where it's, you know, Ghanaians and diasporans that come to the place, but it's African-centered, just like our freedom schools here. So we do have, it's there, and it's room, of course, for more, just like it's room for more here. And so it's something.
What is the best way, I guess, to touch base with some of, I know I'm in touch with Maury Kamara and
he's working with them.
Yes, so.
He's one of the teachers at that particular school I was talking about.
So
yes.
is it more in just in certain regions, or, because I really don't know how everything is set up?
Yeah, no, it's I mean, the ones I know about is in Accra, or greater Accra. Yeah.
And is that more of a place that would be more receptive to that because of where it's located, or?
Yes and no. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're bringing something that's going to help, Ghanaians are open to, you know, help. Just as long as you're not trying to rock the boat too much. You know, you have to find the balance.
Right.
Don't ever come there with, I know more than you.
Right.
You will get shut down, and you will not be able to live there comfortably if you come with that attitude. You see, yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Yes. Good evening. I got here late, but I wanted to find out if you had discussed this 2015 to 2024 International Decade for People of African Descent that comes out of the United Nations. Are you familiar with that?
No.
Okay, this is a decree that has been presented, and
it's not the Millennium Project, is it?
I'm not certain.
Okay.
That's why I wanted to ask you if you were aware of it. There's a website, and it is in several languages, but it speaks to the United Nations General Assembly proclamation for the years 2015 to 2024. As an international decade for people of African descent, citing the need to strengthen national, regional, international cooperation in relation to the full enjoyment of economic, social, cultural, civil, and political rights by people of African descent, and for their full participation, full and equal participation in all aspects of society. So without going into detail about what is here, it talks about how they are trying to encourage African Americans from, I guess, all over the globe, but specifically the United States, to come back to Africa in this initiative. So I was just wondering if well, I'd like to share it to you at the conclusion.
Oh, and this is presented by the UN?
It says from the United Nations.
United Nations.
Yeah. So I'd like to share it with you.
I don't trust nothing that they, I mean, it's good to always know what they're doing. You want to always know what your enemy is, you know, sitting at the table talking about.
Right, exactly.
But whatever they give us, trust me, it's an agenda behind it.
Well, it's an agenda behind most things. I mean, there's politics behind most things.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering if you were aware of it, or had any particular affiliation with some of those that are the leaders, like you say. You know, I don't understand the hierarchy beyond continent and country, and then you said village. But then in between, there's also, I would imagine, hierarchy of organizational structure, of continent, countries, and embassies, and all this kind of stuff. So I'm not clear on that. But, you know, it's like Tarsili was saying about the movie, for example. You know, yes, it could be that, you know, you don't trust anything about it, but to still be aware of it, or to figure out how it can benefit us in spite of whatever their intention is. I didn't know if you would think that it was, you know, worth looking into.
It's always worth looking into because you gotta always know. See, our enemy never sleeps.
Right, I got
they
that.
24 hours on this thing. You know what I'm saying?
That.
So it's always good to know. But you also, with that, I'm not looking to be in solidarity with them. I just want to be able to know what you're doing so we know how to react.
What we need to do.
What we need to do.
In spite of that.
Exactly,
Right,
exactly. Which is the reason why, you know, Africa and black people in general, we're so quick to take things from white people because they look like they're coming to help. You know what I'm saying? And only the people who are awake knows what's going on. We know that whatever little you're giving to us, you're taking a whole lot. You see,
bit for themselves.
Right, exactly. You know, so I know, but there's always so many different ones. People got all kinds of different treaties. They got the Millennium Project, which is giving money to several African countries to do things like giving bids to different corporations to deal with like the electricity issue that might be happening and that's happening in Ghana. You know what I'm saying? So, so then the person who got the bid was GE.
Right.
Africans can do that. Africans can fix that problem. You know what I'm saying? But this is what, so they had a 25-year contract to take that over. You know, but at the end of the day, like I said, we just have to be able to meditate and levitate above all of this in order to be able to understand what we need to do and listen to our ancestors and walk, you know, walk knowing that the ancestors are with you.
Exactly.
Where you don't even have to worry about it. I just walk forward. I don't worry about nothing now. I just let it happen because my life is in the ancestors' hands. And when I did that, everything has worked out for me. Everything has worked out for me. Even if I go through issues or problems, it's just an illusion. It's just an illusion. And trust me, I'm going to get out of it. And it has 100% of the time since I decided to do that. You know, so repatriation, coming back to Africa, is not for everybody, but Africa is for all Africans. Okay, and when you decide to live there, you want to make sure that you do have income, some kind of income. Jobs in Ghana are for Ghanaians. So either you come in there to create a job, unless you're working for some big corporation and you have a specialty that somebody else can't do. Maybe that's something that can happen. If you're a teacher, a lot of times you might be able to get a job if you're a type of special type teacher, you know, in some of these international schools where you can make some of the income that you make here, which will be in international schools that's charging $10,000 to $15,000 a year for one child. Even here, you can find private school cheaper than that. You want to make sure that you take your first visit. I recommend going with the tour group or going over there and dealing with somebody who lives there on the ground that has a service where they can take you around and show you different things. And then move around. When you decide, okay, now I want to live here, go back and stay for a couple of months and move around and get the feel of where you want to be. When I came there, people tell me, go to the city because the children are just better, you know, that's what they know. My children's like, so unhappy. And then when I moved out of the city, it was like, yes, this is what we came here to do. Like, we didn't want to move back to Compton, you know, what are we doing, you know? So where I live now, I've been there since 1 year, for 10 years. I only lived in the city just for a minute because I don't like the city anyway. Even in Atlanta, I didn't live in Atlanta, I lived in Stone Mountain. But they just described it to me. And then I said, that's where I want to live. I said, oh, they say you have to go. I said, trust me, that's where I want to be. And that's where my spirit called. But some people might want to live on the water. Some people might want to get into agriculture, which I encourage everybody, some kind of way, plant something and grow something. Because that's where your power is. If you have food, you really have the most riches because everybody has to eat. And the reason why they're able to control us now, this whole GMO thing, right. They bring it very strong there to Africa. African leaders are taking it in like soup. They know that they're gonna make big money off of it, and all the lies that they're telling you about GMO over here, they're telling the same lies over there, and the politicians are taking it in. Luckily, the local people are like, something don't seem right about what's going on with this thing. And when you explain to them what it really is, they get furious. Watermelon with no seeds? How? Why? Just the concept of how can you do that? is enough for us to be able to win that war on GMO. Over here, we love convenience. So watermelon with no seeds, hey, that's cool. I ain't got to be going through this nuisance of dealing with seeds. It's a different attitude, you know, so that thing is there. So if you're a person that, I have a sister over there, always broke, don't barely have a place to stay half the time, moving around with her daughter over there for 8 years, living like that. But she collects seeds. She plants food. And at the end of the day, when all this stuff shut down, who's going to be the richest person on the planet? She is. Everybody's going to be running to her to get everything. And she can order a whole palace. Okay, you want these seeds? I need a palace. She can do that because she has the power. So I wish, that's a regret. That's what I regret, that I didn't get into that. And the people who did make money.
What time does the library close?
We want to, two things, just one second. Once you begin to wrap it up, we want to have time for the table, and we got to be out by 6. That's what I said.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, so my presentation that I have here is open to everybody to see if you want to. I guess email it to you. There's no secret. It's not top secret. This is information I want everybody to have. It'll answer a lot of questions. And then I'm also open for questions, and we're going to start doing some conference calls in reference to the festival, but it's also, that'll be maybe the first 10-15 minutes of the conference calls that will take about an hour, but the rest of it will be just strictly asking questions about anything that you want to know about Africa that I know, and if I don't know, trust me, I can find somebody who knows the answer. So if you have any more, somebody else had a question?
Yeah, we want to make sure that you have a chance to ask your question before you go, and also the opportunity to look at this wonderful vendor table before you go, and we're going to be out by 6. Thank you so much. Question?
I just, let me let you go. You already.
Yes, I just wondered, what languages do you speak, and what is the predominant language there? English?
The official language of Ghana is English, but the language that a lot of people would know is Twi, T-W-I, Twi, which is said different ways, but I might not be saying it right. Yes, but Twi. And that's the language that I'm learning. I can't say I know it's kakra, baby. It's coming small. You know, and it does help you to know the language, or at least speak on a conversation. I can say I speak on a conversational level. How you doing? I'm fine. Where you going? What you doing? You know, can you do? You know, how much is this? You know, and in some of the insults, I know most of the insults. That's easy because you hear it all day. You know, so when you speak the language, it does help you. So you say maybe get into a taxi, and then you say, "Oh, at the same," or "What the same." Then they're like, "Oh, you're trying, you're trying." That everything changes, like the whole disposition towards you changes, because they feel that, okay, you're not only here, but you're actually trying to learn the language. And if you try so hard, they'll even want to tell you, "Oh, just please, just speak English already. You know, let's just speak English. It's just easier to have a conversation, you know." Children are, and I learned from Abadale, the linguist who has the school. He's the first African American to get a PhD in linguistics of Twi. He speaks Twi better than most Ghanaians. He doesn't speak Twiglish, like with Twi and English inside. He has words for almost every word that even Ghanaians can't even remember, you know, even for computer or whatever, right? So he told me that the way he started was just to talk to the children. The children have more patience. Yes. And then so you're just like, "Oh, what is this? The shoulder. What is this? You know, what is this? What is that?" The same way you learned as a child, you know, teaching your child, you know, a language, you know, and that helped a lot. That helps a lot.
Thank you. Yeah. And that's spoken mainly in Ghana, not outside of
Ghana.
Just Ghana.
Mm-hmm. Most regions of Ghana.
Most regions. Yeah. Thank you.
But there's about 80-something languages.
Yeah, different dialects.
Different dialect, and then even in those languages, like Awa has about 6 different dialects. You know, so like English, you're from New York, you're from the South, you're from LA. You know, it's going to be different type of dialects. Yeah.
So as a group here, what can we help you do in terms of just, you know, the exchange that you have come here to share with us? those of us that have to decide or make a path to our journey, you know, I took notes on basically what, you know, most of what you said. But my question would be, is there any way we can help you?
That's a good question. I'm not used to getting that question, so I don't even know what to say.
Marinate on the question.
Yeah, I'll marinate on it. I mean, you know, I have the peanut butter kids that I do every month with the children, and I just, you know, I just pay for it. I don't have no sponsorship. I just decided that we come together, we do a lot of talking about all kind of different things, right? But then where's the action? So for me, I even challenge all of us that you have children amongst you all the time, whether they're your children or not, your neighbors or whatever. Just take my program for me to sustain it every month without going broke. I make my budget is $100. Now I want to do more, but at least with that $100, which is 400 Ghana cedis over there, I can do something every single month. So one day out of the month for 3 hours. A lot of us, we talk about we don't have time, but we got that. Yes. You got 3 hours, one day out of the month, $100. And I can do that same thing here as over there. And all it is just grabbing the kids that's right around you and just talking to them and having discussion. They love it. Because they miss their grandma, you know, sitting on their grandma's lap and having those stories told to them. You know what I'm saying? That's missing a long time. You know what I'm saying? So when you bring that back, you know, they love to sit and talk. I talk to a lot of the kids over there about our story. It gives me a time to talk about our story and who we are. They don't believe us. They don't believe me. They don't believe the Ma'afa and this slave trade thing. It's a fantasy. It's a story. You know what I'm saying? And so when you tell them, I have to show them pictures. I have to do all kind of stuff to prove that I'm not talking about a movie. You know what I'm saying? Because it does seem like something that's so crazy and far-fetched. Because white people, when they come over there, they're giving, they're helping, they're building schools, they're doing all this stuff. Like I said, they are raping, but they're not seeing that. Because they got that Bible and that white Jesus shield, you know, on them. And so when they see, you know, when you talk about them enslaving people and they whipping people and they're humiliating us and all these different things that we dealt with for the last 500 years, it's like, what are you talking about? How? Why?
Yeah, this is
that's not
the last
possible.
question for Brother Amani, and then we're going to have time for the table. That's one of the ways that we can support.
Okay, well, my question, you brought up another point I get. My friend that I tell you about from Accra, I just want to say this first before I speak. He grew up in Accra, and he told me he didn't know until he went to the slave dungeon on a special field trip that's what took place there. He grew up there.
Yes, right there. It's just relic buildings.
It's right. Yeah, he said when they talked about, because they call them the castles also, I always call them the dungeons. He said he thought it was a place where there was prince and kings and queens and stuff like that.
It wasn't even that. It was a place
These are
of
local people.
Yeah.
Yes.
These are people who grew up in that culture.
Yes.
They just started doing excursions for the schools. When I came in 2006, they said they had started in 2004.
Right.
Doing the excursions for the schools.
Right.
Getting them to understand,
My question is based on my experience and something that I observed, like with Liberia. My concern is for the future, like for those of us who do decide to repatriate or move there, and the stereotypes on both sides of the Atlantic between us. Are they going to put any kind of institution into place to help eliminate that? Because part of the problem, I saw this on my own trip. The ugly Americans, some of our own people are ugly Americans. They don't even know it, you know. And they go in there, you know. We were at this lady's house. She had a beautiful home, but she asked people, please don't go upstairs. But it was a large group of people. The people went around the corner, the two in the back. They decided they were going to go upstairs, you know, because, you know, they just wanted to see that we looked like that. But it was very disrespectful to the lady. She was allowing us to come into the house. And then some of the comments about, oh, they don't have a McDonald's here. They don't have this, that, and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, you know. So it just showed me, you know, and I hear tensions. I got a lot of friends, people I knew from Liberia. And what I was told that when they had their civil war there, a lot of that problem came from black people who were in America, when they went back to Liberia, they went back with that arrogant American attitude. And I don't want to see
they went with the white man's agenda. That's why it's like, we'll let you go back, but Monroe, you have to do.
How can we avoid that if we get a large group of African Americans or people from the diaspora to go back to Ghana? What do we have in place to ensure
that's why
that they're being educated about the people, and that the people are being educated about us, and we have good communication?
Well, that's why we have these conference calls, so people, and Bomani does the same thing every month, 2 weeks or whatever. You have a conference call, especially with the people who's going with us on the trips, so they can understand what you're going to be dealing with when you get there, and they can ask all the different questions. And then letting them understand what it is to respect it. Every culture has some level, that's something that you have to respect. Right. And let them understand what they give it. Like, for example, dealing with your left hand. You don't give with your left hand. You don't shake with your left hand. You don't pick up stuff. Don't go into the marketplace and, you know, it's you have to deal with your right hand. So one friend, she just walked around like this with an ankh on her back for almost a year, she said, just so she could get in the habit of just using her right hand. You know, so just the education of just knowing. And then I think also, well, I know if we just start having dialogues, these things are taking place. Even Essence Magazine had Africans from the continent and Africans from America and from the Caribbean, and what do we think about each other? Just a straight interview. Nobody's looking at you, and they gave straight answers, and that was an attempt. Yeah, it was an attempt. So I always try to have those discussions. We have them all the time, being over there in the continent amongst the Pan-African movement.
The Diasporan Association as well.
Yeah, who?
The diasporans that do meet on sometimes a semi-regular basis, like Amakusa and the groups of...
Yeah, I mean, we do have some, but some of us are just straight African-American bougie, and we just, you know, not... I don't even try to deal with them. I mean, if there's something going on, or if there's something I can come in there and change, but we get together, we do this Ghanaian bashing, you know, I'm not trying to deal with that. So we have too many of those, but we do have the people who say, okay, you know, we're all Africans, let's sit down and talk about what we're going to do to build Africa. And then, like I said, sometimes those things come up.
Well, that's why we're blessed to have Dr. Sharita. We've got about 8 minutes before we have to clear this building. The library will be closing in about 10 minutes, and we're going to take it to the final moment. You can get with Dr. Sharita afterwards, too. But we're going to give her an opportunity to close it out. We're going to close it out. But we don't want you to leave without looking at the table. We want you to get a sense of and get the material here and get the numbers of the folks. But Dr. Sharita, what do you want to say in closing before we just kind of thank you?
I just say, just come, just make a visit. It is not about, I talk about repatriation because of what has happened with a lot of Black Americans coming over there in the last couple of years, and they're coming right back to America because of the mistakes. So that's why I'm doing this. But Africa is not necessary for everybody to live. But everybody should go. Everybody should go, at least take one trip. It's your pilgrimage. It's like, think about it, it's going home to see your mama. If you were adopted and you want to know who you are, now you found your mother, you want to go see that family. Go do that. Go home to Africa, and then also not go to save Africa, go there to save yourself.
Let's acknowledge. Before Dr. Sharita actually completes this, I know as well as you, if you would extend your hands out like this toward Dr. Sharita, where the energy is flowing to and through her. We want to love on her and love her up and out. We'll be seeing her again, but we just thank you, Dr. Sharita, for being on your mission, on your purpose, for being the warrior queen that you are, for stepping on this side and bringing the message of repatriation to us. We support you, we love you, we bless you, and we appreciate you, and we thank the ancestors for you. Make sure you get your individual questions in, and make sure that you sign the guest book. Dr. Sharita will be getting those numbers.
Oh, this is just the beginning.
Yes, yeah, because it's a lot. It's a lot.